Welcome to Reverse Reset Restore. I'm Sally, your guide on a personal journey towards wellness and self-love. In today's episode, we'll be discussing a practical way that can enhance your mental, emotional, and physical health. If you are a water baby, you're gonna love this one. Change comes from within. Do you ever get stuck in your mind? Well, I know I do. And while I consider it, my mind, to be a thing of beauty and relate to it as one of my most prized assets, it's also been a source of my greatest pains and tribulations. The mind and its magical ability to invent and imagine and create amazing experiences and feelings in our lives also lends itself to inventing worst case scenarios and imagining terrible events and creating stories that may never happen. But my mind then tricks my body and my emotions into speculating and dwelling on these stories I tell myself. We are way more powerful than we ever give ourselves credit for. Anyway, if you are like me, always being distracted by your busy, overthinking, overly imaginative, creative, but somewhat at times cruel and toxic mind, you might want to give this therapeutic tool a go. Today, we are talking sensory deprivation or isolation tanks, or the far less scary and much more inviting name of floating. If this is your first time listening in, a big welcome. I'm so grateful that you've joined us today. And hello again if you're back to share some more time with me. You are so important to me, and I'm grateful that we're doing this journey together. We're going to cover the history of floating and sensory deprivation as a whole, as well as discuss the benefits believed to be derived from this type of healing modality. I'll share my experiences, and I'll offer up some tips to help make this work for you, if you happen to still be feeling a little trepidatious about the concept at the end of this episode. In recent years, sensory deprivation treatments, notably floating, have gained popularity as a holistic approach to relaxation and wellness. These therapies offer individuals an opportunity to escape the sensory overload of our modern life and experience deep relaxation in a controlled environment. The concept of sensory deprivation dates back to the 1950s, when researchers began exploring the effects of sensory isolation on the human mind and body. First developed by Dr. John C. Lilly, who was attempting to isolate the mind from the body for the National Institute of Mental Health. The first tanks are definitely a world away from what we have now, and if I'm being honest, they sound a little terrifying. And are definitely lacking any of the benefits we'll explore later on in the episode. Initially, the tanks were positioned upright and filled with sea water. The subjects were submerged, wearing a breathing apparatus while suspended under the water in dark, soundproof chambers for extended periods. I know, terrifying, right? Sounds like a nightmare. Not for the faint-hearted or if you feel claustrophobic. I'm pretty sure I would not have put my hand willingly up to be a subject in this particular experiment, but who knows. The experiment did pay off because it did help to lead to some insights into the brain's response to reduced sensory input. At some point, this configuration was changed and the tanks were then placed on their side. The seawater was switched out to a higher concentration of the less corrosive Epsom salts. This allowed the subjects to lay back and float away. No breathing apparatus required. And these studies laid the groundwork for the development of our modern sensory deprivation tanks, also known as float tanks or isolation tanks. In fact, it was actually 2 test subjects of Lilly's work, Glenn and Lee Perry, a married couple, who went on to develop the tanks and start their own business, Samadhi, opening their first float centre to the public in Beverly Hills, California by 1979. Float centres were popular around the globe until around the mid-90s. It wasn't really until around 2010 that the practice really came back into the general population, and you can find them in most cities around the globe. So, as we've discovered, floating involves immersing oneself in a specially designed tank filled with warm water and Epsom salts, creating a buoyant environment that allows you to effortlessly float on the surface. If you've ever had a fantasy of being an astronaut in space, this kind of gives off that vibe. The tanks are typically soundproof and lightproof, which provides a serene and cocoon-like experience free from external distractions. There are often 2 types available. So one is the traditional standalone tank, which in my opinion looks almost like an egg. And the other, which is my preferred, in quotations, tank, is set into the wall like its own little room. No matter what type you get to use, the concept is the same. By floating in the dense magnesium-rich Epsom water, you can enter a state of deep relaxation, and the accompanying sensory reduction in turn helps facilitate profound introspection and rejuvenation. If that sounds inviting, now seems like a good time to share with you 5 benefits of floating. Number 1, stress reduction. Floating promotes relaxation by reducing levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and inducing a state of deep relaxation. The weightlessness experienced in the tank alleviates the pressure on your body, relieving muscle tension and promoting overall relaxation. This is an opportunity to let all the many balls you may be juggling in your life fall and just be. Be in the moment. Be present in your body and let the laundry list of your life drift away for an hour. Number 2, pain management. The Epsom salt solution used in float tanks has analgesic properties, making it effective for alleviating chronic pain conditions such as fibromyalgia, arthritis, and back pain. Floating can provide temporary relief from pain and contribute to long-term pain management strategies. Here's a hot tip though to avoid adding to pain while floating. Do not, I repeat, do not wipe your eyes with your hands. This is lived wisdom, my friends. Don't do it. The regret will be immediate and real. Also, don't float with open wounds for the same real and immediate regret. If you think sea water stings, times that pain by about 100. Make sure you don't shave and then go for a float, because there will be millions of tiny needle pain sensations running through your legs. They do often provide Vaseline so that you can, if you do have a small wound or scratch or something like that, you can Vaseline over it, which will give it a protective layer. And number 3, mental clarity and creativity. In the absence of external stimuli, floating allows the mind to enter a meditative state characterized by heightened awareness and mental clarity. Many individuals report experiencing insights, creative breakthroughs, and enhanced problem-solving abilities during and after floating sessions. If you feel like you've hit a creative brick wall, floating can provide an opportunity to smash through it. The lack of external stimuli can prove an effective method to think of other solutions or inspire different thinking pathways. Number 4, improved sleep quality. Floating can promote restful sleep by reducing anxiety, calming down the nervous system, and facilitating the release of endorphins, which are the body's natural painkillers. Regular floating sessions have been shown to improve sleep quality and duration, making it beneficial for individuals struggling with insomnia or sleep disturbances. It's common for people to even drift off to sleep during a float session or experience a great sleep that night. And number 5, enhanced well-being. Floating offers a unique opportunity for self-reflection, introspection, and mindfulness. By disconnecting from the outside world for a while and turning into internal sensations, you can gain a deeper understanding of yourself, reduce the mental chatter, and cultivate a sense of inner peace and well-being. Whenever I float, I imagine that I'm fulfilling a childhood dream where I'm an astronaut floating in the cosmos. Just me, my weightless body, and the darkness of deep space. Some days, this image is perfection. In fact, I go straight to sleep, which fulfills another childhood dream of mine, which is to sleep in water. Other days, it's like it sets my brain on fire and I'm constantly flicking the light on to reach for my notebook or a phone to jot down the thoughts. There have been floating sessions where my mind rests and I feel really safe and secure in the moment, and my internal chatter kind of just sort of shuts up for a while and is at peace. But there have been times when I've been unable to stay in the silence or the dark, and I need to have the lights on and the music going, or I've even just had to get out. I've learnt that for myself anyway, when I've been in a deep depression, I cannot float. This safe haven suddenly becomes a place where my inner thought demons swirl about, and the deprivation of sound and light and people is just far too isolating. I go from, I'm travelling with the Doctor in the TARDIS, fun, to the isolation Sandra Bullock's character experiences in the movie Gravity, not so fun. So my suggestion would be not to float if you're suffering from depression or you're prone to anxiety or panic attacks, because I want to keep you safe. And that may mean that this is not the right health modality for you, or maybe just not right now. And that is okay. This podcast offers many other opportunities for you to discover a range of healing options that might be just the right fit for you and your circumstances right now. Sensory deprivation treatments, particularly floating, can offer a transformative experience that promotes the relaxation, rejuvenation, and self-discovery. If you want to better manage your stress, your pain, creativity, sleep, and overall well-being, floating could be the key to improving your life. With its roots in scientific research and ancient practices of meditation and contemplation, floating provides a sanctuary for us modern individuals seeking respite from the demands of our daily life. As awareness of the benefits of sensory deprivation grows, I think these therapies will continue to gain popularity as valuable tools for promoting holistic well-being and inner balance. It can be confronting sometimes to be there alone with yourself and your thoughts, and no sight and no sounds to kind of pull you away from that internal dialogue. That's why I say, especially if you're prone to anxiety or panic attacks, or you're suffering from depression, floating's probably going to be a bit risky if you're going to entertain thoughts that are not going to be healthy for you. So it is a little bit confronting if you're not used to it. Some people find it completely boring and they just hate it because it's boring, because there's nothing to do except lie there. And we're often not used to that, right? So you might want to try it. I would suggest not going in for a full hour-long session. Go for the shortest session that you can, if that's something that might be interesting to you. Now, if you've tried floating, or if it is something that you've done on the regular, please let me know. I would love to hear about your experiences. Just head on over to our Facebook page, drop a comment under the post for this episode. And like I said, if this concept is new to you or frankly freaks you out, the idea of being stuck in the dark, floating alone with your thoughts like a naked astronaut in space, I totally get it. You can have lights on. I would put sound on my phone if I needed that kind of ambient noise to help settle my brain. I'm in the space now where I generally just go to sleep. It's my hope that today's episode might have encouraged you to step outside your comfort zone and give it a go if it's available to you. As I said, it's not a technique that will necessarily work for everyone, but it definitely has a lot of benefits and it could work well for you. I'm going to leave you with a quote from author Ryan Lilly. And yes, he is related to Dr. John Lilly, the OG of floating. And I think this sums up what float tanks can do for you. At least I know it's done this for me more often than not. Let me know if you agree with his thought or not. When I first tried a sensory deprivation tank, people thought I'd lost my mind. In fact, I had found it.